I have to replenish some of my Tippet here, and I thought this would be a good time to show you this right here. This is a Tippet Boss, that's what it's called, or the Tippet Boss. Here's the package that it comes in, and so the label looks like this. See that? And this is made by a guy named Tony DeChico. Good guy. He's from the Pittsburgh area, I think, Pennsylvania. Really good guy. And this product I've used now, this is my third season with it. Third? I think this is my third season with it, and I like it a lot. Now, before I get into this, I'm going to say that if you're looking for an easy Tippet solution, very easy, then you get these spools, and they sell things that go right through these holes. You line them up, and you attach it to your pack. And it's great. And usually, like if you buy all the same kind, like this is Trout Hunter, they snap together real nice. And they spin. Well, they're supposed to spin. Oop, oop, oop. This doesn't spin. Maybe they're not supposed to spin. But ones like this, the Orbis ones, these spin. They snap together and spin. And these things work great. There's no doubt about it. But I don't know. I really like this system. And it allows you, I've taken it apart to pull the spools out, but he sells them in a 4-spool system, a 6, and an 8. And this is a 6, and I would say that 6 is probably the max, unless you wanted something to go in a boat, which is not a bad idea. If you had like an 8-spool one that you put in a boat, and you had clients, if you were a guide, let's say, and you were always going to be nymphing or dry fly fishing or streamer fishing, meaning you needed something from 25 pound down to 6 pound, handy, then I would say the 8-spool is probably for you. But I bet the best thing, if you were considering getting one of these, is this 4-spool. Even I'm honestly, I feel like the 4-spool is probably good enough. And the way I have it set up here is I just put some labels on here. Now, he doesn't provide any labels. He probably should. He'd probably make a label that you can, maybe you just toss them in the package or something that you could stick on. But I just wrote here 5M. Maybe it's hard to see. I put 5M and 6F. And basically that's telling me that starting right here is 5 mono, and then this is 4 mono, and this is 3 mono. And this says 6 fluorocarbon. So now this would be 6, 5, 4. And that's so just so I know, because there's really no way when you start getting down to 5 and 6, and even Trout Hunter, I think they're the only people that make like a 5.5. It's very difficult to look at it and know. But the next thing you're going to say to yourself is that, so I don't understand. What are you going to do with this? And this doesn't fit in here. It doesn't. No. In fact, you need to take this and put it onto this. And that's where, and of course, we got some nice grandfather clock chimes coming in. It's good. I should probably turn those chimes off. Okay. Chimes are off. So you have to put this spool onto this. Now this, I believe, is the barrier of entry. Obviously, it's the barrier of entry. This is a big barrier. I mean, you really gotta, it's a hurdle you gotta jump to get into a system like this. When I first got it, I set it all up. It took me a couple hours. And I bought, in the case of this spool right here, I bought Seagar Finesse, which I don't believe they sell anymore. But the smallest Seagar Finesse they used to sell, you could probably still find it on closeout and stuff, is a 5.2 test. And I believe it's 0.0065. One thing maybe I should point out is that stuff like this, 5.5x, or this one says 5x, don't look at these numbers. This 4x stuff, don't do it. Because it's honestly like, it's not correct. Period. It's not correct. I mean, you gotta look at the diameter. You wanna look at the diameter, and you wanna look at the millimeter, or you wanna look at the inch out to the 10,000ths, not the thousandths. So what is a 10,000? What is a thousand? See, 0.0065 or whatever that says right there. Let's see what it says. 0054. Don't trust 005. Because what happens is that if that was 00, if it was said 005, it could be 0045. See what I mean? Because they'll round up. They do that. I mean, it's just, they do it. And I wouldn't, I mean, Trout Hunter has 4 places. That's what you should use, or you should use the millimeters. But never look at the 5x or the 4x. Always look at the diameter. Always look at the diameter. So back to this one right here. This is Cigar Finesse 5.2 pound, which is 0065. That's what this is, 0065. And it comes up as 007, I think, but it's 0065. And this, they consider this 5x. But if you look at this 5x Trout Hunter, it says here 0058. You see what I mean? So this 5x is way thinner than this 5x. And that's important. It's really important. This 5x is more like 4.5 or 4 3/4, something like that. But this was, to get back to spooling these things on yourself, the Cigar Finesse comes in a 150-yard spool. It also comes in like a 1,000-yard spool when they used to sell it. But 150 yards, 450 feet will fit onto this right here. It just barely fits. So, I mean, 100 yards is probably better. I mean, it really came right to the edge, right to the edge. This one was 4x. I ran out of 4x, but I really don't need 4x anymore, so I'm probably going to switch to this 5x. I'm going to put this 5x onto this spool. And another thing it comes with when you buy it, see this right here? This is I don't know what you want to call it. I mean, this is a company that makes the spool hands. But it's really just a keeper, like a spool keeper. But this one has a blade on it. It's tough to tell, but maybe I can zoom in for you. Oh, hey, Sam. So this has got a blade on it. Essentially what happens is you can pull it off like this, and you can just wrap it right around that blade and you can cut it. Now, every spool having one of these blades on it, kind of unnecessary. But he puts them with all of them. He probably doesn't need to. He probably just needs to, in a case like this, having one in the center here and the one in the center there. But every spool comes with it. Now, over time though, in the sun, you put 150 yards on one of these things, it stretches out. I mean, there's a memory to these things, so once you start using it all, it's going to stay like this, and it almost becomes a little bit useless after a couple seasons in the sun, getting wet, drying, getting wet, drying. 150 yards down to 0 yards. So I always keep some backups. This is with spool hands. Now, also, I guess I should also point out is that he will sell you a spool already filled. He'll do that. He'll say, I think he calls them loaded Tippet Boss maybe, or something like that. If he doesn't call it that, he should. But essentially, he can send you a 6 spool with stuff preloaded. Obviously, you run through that, you got to do it yourself. So now let's talk about how to get this tippet from, in this case, Trout Hunter, this is the 5X, onto this proprietary spool. It gives you this right here. See this? You can put this in a drill if you wanted to, if you really want to get nuts, but I just do it by hand. And I take my time. It sticks in there, but before you do that, you need to be able to put this tippet, you probably can't see it, but you need to be able to put this tippet onto the spool and start it without it slipping. It's a little bit tricky, but essentially I lay it across. So I'm laying it across the opening of this, and then I take the little plunger, or whatever you want to call it, and I drop it in here real tight. That locks it in. And I'll also clip off the little tag end. And on top of that, I will take a little piece of tape and I will make it so that it's right close to the edge. So it might be tough to see, but essentially I've plunged it into this hole so it's locked in, and I've taped it right there. And then all I do is that I get it into this channel and I get it started. So all I'm doing here is just rolling, rotating the proprietary one, and it's unrolling from the Trout Hunter one. Now that we have that done, this is 50 meters, it took me less than 5 minutes. And I'm going to put the keeper on it. Basically what you can do is that you can take the end of the tippet right here, and there's a little hole. You can put it through the hole first, or you can put the keeper on first. It's really up to you, but take it, pull a decent amount out so you're not fighting it. You can always put it back in. That's what's cool about this. And drop the plastic part of the keeper right there on top. Make sure it's locked in, and then just bring it around. And then what you can do is that all you do is you just take it like this, rotate that, and it just rolls the tippet right back onto the spool. See that? And that's it. And then when you want to take some off, all you're doing is taking this, you're wrapping it around, and usually you just put your finger right there and then you just pull. And that leaves, once you cut it, it leaves about 1 inch hanging off, which is really perfect. Then, now you take this thing out of here, and remember you plunge this in here. So you want to find that little edge and try and clip it close. That's it. So now you're in. That's it. This is 5X, and this is another 5X, but I'm going to call this 4.5. And bring this in here. And then I have this one, this red one. This is actually 6X. This is Cortland, that Cortland premium stuff, that Fluorocarbon, the premium one, the 6X. It's like 6X at like 3.9 pound, which is pretty amazing, because this is, where we got here? Yeah, so that's 3.9 pound. This is 4.4 pound at 5.5X. So it's Trout Hunter and the premium Cortland are basically the same thing. The 6X on this I think is around 3.8 or 3.9 or 4. I don't have it, but I'm pretty sure they're all, the Cortland premium and this are basically the same. Now I'm putting the 5.5 on a spool. I should also probably at some point in time explain my leader system that I'm back to. I'm back to a built leader. For about a season and a half I used a built leader that was made by my friend Bryn. It's built, which means it's not tapered, meaning it has a lot of knots in it and it has a lot of sections. It's like 10 sections. He made the leader for me. I used it. It's freaking amazing. I mean, it's without a doubt the best leader going. It's incredible. I used it for a season and a half, like I said, and then my wife happened to take the rod, and she was like, "What in the world is this?" My wife Sam, and I'm like, "It's a built leader." She's like, "Yeah, take it off and put a tapered leader on there," because it can be frustrating if you're not used to it. Like, it took me a good 3-4 days to get used to it. If the casts aren't perfect, that leader will just wrap around itself, and it's a nightmare to get undone. So I took it off and I never put it back on, but now I'm back to it. I made my own, and it really is the best leader on the planet. I will never go back to a tapered leader. I will never go back to a tapered leader. Never in a million years. They're garbage compared to a built Maxima Chameleon leader. So now we got our, let's make sure we don't screw this up. We got, this is 5.5. This is 5. And this is 4 3/4. So just like that. And we'll take this and we will, this is a spacer. This little red spacer goes in here. And obviously the spacer goes in here first. It basically aligns them all up. You take them, stick them in here, and then you take this part. This is basically a lock. It has some teeth right there. And you put it through here, and that's it. Now this thing is in there. It's not coming out. And now what we'll do is take apart this side, and we'll get rid of the 3. Just push that through. What's cool is you can open up one side. You don't have to open the whole thing up. So we'll take this thing out, and actually what we'll do is, this is the 3 over here. So we'll just slide this out, and then, see that? And we'll take the 6, this is the 6X, we'll drop that in, bring this over, and then put this part back in. There it is, close up. You can see it all finished. This is where I have my 6X fluorocarbon. That's the Cortland. And this is the Seagar. And these two are Trout Hunter. Now, again, you might be saying, man, you got to do all this. You got to spool them on there. It's kind of a lot of work. Well, I mean, it's not that much work. It's just a lot more work than not doing anything, right? But it's, if you think about it, it's, if you're going to get everything Trout Hunter, then, you know, okay, it makes a lot of sense. You clip them all together, and you buy a little keeper system that they sell, which, you know, puts something through the center of all those spools, and you hook it onto your pack, and it works out great. But think about it this way: if you're not using everything that's from the same company, I mean, you can't. There's nothing you can do. For instance, this Seagar, this is 150 yards. This thing comes in a gigantic spool in a box. There's no way to hook that onto anything. You have to take it off and put it onto something else. Now, and then I have these 2 Trout Hunters, and then I have this Cortland 6X. So you're with this, it allows you to not be locked in to any one company. That's a really great reason to get one of these things, is that it really doesn't matter which kind of wacky proprietary spool that, you know, the Tippet comes on. You'll always be able to take it off and put it onto this. Another thing, Maxima doesn't come on a normal spool. I mean, it's a huge, ridiculous, you know, big clunky thing. Well, if you wanted to use Maxima, which I think a lot of people do, especially to start off a leader, like anything. I use Maxima on my actual leader. It's a built leader. And if I wanted to put the last section of the leader, or the last 2 sections of the leader, just in case I had to replace them, if I wanted to bring that with me, well, I could put it right on here, which is something I would be interested in doing. So this, while it is a hassle to set up the first time, it's worth it if you have all different types of Tippet material. So that's it. Tippet Boss. Thanks.